Looks like we are officially live. Welcome to another episode of Endless Urgency. I am thrilled to be here with my new friend who I met through friend of the show, Joe Walsh, Edwin Edenrath. Did I get it right?
Eisendrath.
Eisendrath. God, I knew I was gonna fuck it up. I should have written it down. I'm sorry, man. He's a former Chicago alderman. He is the former CEO of the Chicago Sun-Times. He is a local Chicago activist, and in my opinion, one of the most important voices on the ground here in Chicago, working to fight back against what ICE is doing right now. And I thought we would have a show focused primarily on three things. One, we're going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump threatening to throw Pritzker in prison today. We're going to talk about what's going on the ground in ICE. I have some updates about the work that I'm doing, which I know a lot of you have been wondering about. And then I want to talk a little bit about fascism rising in America. As we're getting started here, please do me a favor, hit the heart button so that we can move this up the algorithm for us and more people will get a chance to see it. And then please tell us where you're watching this from. Feel free to add your comments. Any questions or topics you want us to cover while we go, because I'm sure Edwin and I are just going to run into it and it's going to go where it goes. Edwin, I just want to start here because I'm asking everybody this right now. It's just been a rough couple weeks for Chicago. It's been a rough couple weeks for the country. And I just want to know how you're hanging in there because it's been tough. I know I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Hey, look, but before I answer that, I just want to tell you, I've been doing some of this with your friend Joe Walsh. We've been having a load of fun talking about this country and where we need to go. I am upbeat, even though the times are terrible. And uh, I teach students, I teach it to Paul, and I tell the students, you're lucky to be in a time when what you do matters. What you do matters, really matters right now. So, as an old man, I feel lucky that I can contribute a little bit in this fight. And boy, I'm in it full time. And I see you guys with those hearts. That is a great thing. But here's the thing. If you love Chicago, hit those hearts. If you love this great city and you don't want to see it overrun, hit those hearts because this city needs a lot of love right now. Um, it is under uh, an ugly, ugly attack. And Mike, you know this. The city's beautiful. You walk around in a lot of places where ice isn't, and you think things are great. And I'm thinking, what was Paris like in 1941? It was still a beautiful city, right? But it
Right.
was under attack. And that's what we have here. And we shouldn't be fooled by the beautiful parts of the city that are lovely. And the people out, eating in the parks and walking around and enjoying the river or sitting down by the lake. You shouldn't be confused by this to think that terrible things aren't going on in this city. Terrible things at the hand of a federal government that wants to cause a violent reaction from us.
Yeah, and we have a hostile federal government that is lying about the state of Chicago, that is lying about what they're doing with ICE agents. They claim they're only going after violent offenders, but they're going after anybody indiscriminately. They're attacking protesters. I'm sure you saw the video this morning of the priest that was shot in the head with a pellet gun by an ICE agent. Guy wasn't even doing anything. He was just standing there.
Right.
And there's a million videos like that. I'm sure we'll probably reference a bunch of them while we're chatting here, but this is a great city, and I can't stress this enough. This is the best city in America. I'll die on this hill. And you and I, when we talked about it at lunch, we were sharing all the different reasons that we love this city. And they cannot stop attacking it, and they cannot stop lying about it. And one thing that you said off stream, which was you're proud of the people of Chicago and proud of our brothers and our sisters who are out there fighting. And I am too. And I said this to Katie Fang when we did our show yesterday is we're seeing some of the worst of America right now in what these ICE agents are doing and who the president of the United States is. But we're also seeing some of the best in America right now because there are people who are rising to the occasion all across the city to protect their neighbors, that are organizing caravans to make sure the kids get to school. I just got done with a meeting with my alderman talking about how we can secure the school that I'm on the council of because it's got a 41% Latino population. So there's work that's being done and people aren't giving up. People are sad. They're overwhelmed for sure. But we're not giving up. And I think that's the most important thing that's happening right now.
Yeah. Sad, overwhelmed, angry. I am very angry.
I'm right here.
Yep.
Yes.
But supporting each other, helping each other, protecting everybody we can protect, really important. And not for 1 second willing to say, we'll bow down, we will give up the things we love just to make you go away. We will let you take everybody you want. Not happening. And you know what? Here's what I really hope. I hope the people of Texas see what's happening here and go, we really don't think that's a good idea. We just sent our sons, our husbands, our daughters in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
They volunteer in that National Guard. And we've just shipped them up to Chicago away from their families, away from their jobs, to do what exactly? To go whip those Yankees in a couple weeks. The last time that didn't work out so well. I hope they decide that this isn't really what they want, and they call their governor, what a bad guy he is. Wow. And just say, Governor
One of the
Abbott,
sleaziest
bring our
politicians on the planet.
right, bring our folks back home. We don't need to be up there walking around the Chicago River, as nice as it is. And by the way, Mike, when I see those ice guys from Texas, the first thing I'm going to do is say to them, "How do you like our city? And why don't you move here? Stay here. You come, be part of our city. You don't have to go back there. That place where hate is taught in school. We don't do that here."
I made this point this morning on Threads. Is there's a lot of images being thrown around of the National Guard agents, and they found a couple of ones that are a little portly, like myself. And I don't really care. I don't mind a bad joke or anything, or a joke every now and again. But these guys are caught in the middle of a political war. Like, they're being used as props, and they're being mistreated, and they're not out there doing, like, they signed up to serve the country, to keep people safe. And now they're being deployed like this by politicians that want to make a point, that want to improve their stance on their power. And I don't appreciate people making fun of them, because these guys are caught in the middle of this, and you have to hope when the chips are down, when they're given an order to hurt somebody, that they
That
say
they
no,
won't. Yeah.
that they won't.
That's
Yeah.
the guard. That's the guard. I don't feel the same way about the ICE and Customs and Border Patrol.
Yeah, I don't feel that way about ICE. No, ICE and Border Patrol, no, because those guys are signing up and getting $50,000 bonuses, and how many of them are Proud Boys and former January 6 infiltrators and all
And
this
then
shit?
you can see by the terrible job they're doing, they're not well
Yeah.
trained. They're trigger happy. They're really dangerous. Really
They're
dangerous.
they're cosplaying as cops. They are not real law enforcement officers, and they're acting like it. They don't understand the value of restraint. And I'll tell you, my dad, 34-year veteran of the FBI, never had to wear a mask to do his fucking job.
I'm not hoping for this. I'm expecting that when some of these guys break the law, they use force illegally, that we do to them what we do. Most police are great, but in a city like Chicago, sometimes you get a bad apple. And you know what? The city has processes for holding police accountable. The city just paid out huge fines, after all, for police misconduct this year. I hope that ICE gets held accountable, and that some of these folks who cross a line know that, only Donald Trump is immune from the law in America. Everybody
Well,
else.
the challenge is the thing that keeps me up at night. And I don't know if you saw Pam Bondi yesterday and the disgraceful display she had in front of Senate Judiciary Committee, refusing to answer their questions. And she's covering up for Trump on a bunch of stuff, but especially on Epstein right now. The confidence that they have that they will never be held accountable, I believe, is because they know that a blanket pardon is coming their way. And that's what's going to happen at the end of this term. These ICE agents are going to break the law, and they're going to do it with impunity, and they're going to get people killed. They've already gotten people killed, frankly, and hurt. And when it's all over, he's going to blanketly pardon them on the way out the door. And then we're going to get some both sides bullshit because Joe Biden pardoned his kid. Which, don't get me wrong, I disagreed with that pardon too, but it's not the same thing.
But there's no question it's a lawless administration. Pam Bondi is not enforcing the law. She doesn't care about the law. This out of office message that was put that said it's Democrats' fault is like the clearest Hatch Act violation in the world. And there's one bit of holding people accountable from her. She doesn't do it. The crooks are in charge of the police force in the federal government. It's dangerous, really dangerous. But Mike, we can hold them accountable afterwards in a lot of ways. I want to take their symbols of their power away. As you know, I think I've told you this. Mar-a-Lago should be the next Smithsonian Museum of American Fascism. Take it from them, turn their symbols into something better. We did it to Robert E. Lee's house.
Robert E. Lee, yeah.
Right? They've done it in South Africa. They've done it all over the world. Take the fascist symbols away from them. We can hold them accountable in lots of ways. We're not powerless, but we have to be tougher than we normally are on our side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the left is getting tougher. Is it tough yet? I wouldn't say it's tough yet, but I would say it's tougher.
Did you see that? I'm sorry to get off script.
No, go ahead.
Did you see Chuck Schumer's video?
Yes. Did you like it?
Look, I loved it. I thought he said the right things, but I also laughed. I have to admit, it didn't.
Yeah.
He was so uncomfortable in it.
Yeah. Well, I love Chuck, and it's like, look, I think the video is good. Like, I probably would rank it right along where I would rank most of the shutdown messaging, which is like B minus. B minus for the Democrats, pretty fucking good right now, accepting it. My view of it is It's way better than the stuff that he was putting out in January and February of this year. And the point that I've made to people 1,000 times about the Democratic establishment is you want them to get better at messaging. You want them to get better at like videos and things that are new like that, especially to a guy like Chuck. You got to give them the leeway to fail. And like, this is where we're better now.
I thought he was going to conduct, when he took out the baton, the
police. My thing about the video that I didn't like is I think the best messaging is at the end of the video. Like, I think it's like the people who are talking about it, those are actually your best messengers, because no matter who you are, even if you're the most trusted politician on the planet like Bernie Sanders, a regular person is going to be more trusted than you.
Yeah. Anyway, I was really glad he did it. And I'm thinking, time to make an endorsement in that mayor's election in New York now that you've learned a few things about
Please, I need them to end this, because it's going to create the conditions for like a moderate candidate to win a primary, and then the left not to endorse the moderate candidate in the midterms, which is going to piss me off. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's kumbaya time on our side.
Yeah, 100%. Right? Like, you win the primary for, like, Zoran wins the primary. And, like, look, I don't think the party's going to be overrun with Zoran Mondanis. There's only one guy that's that talented in a race like that. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't know, but
it's not the rest of the country.
Right, exactly, right. And by the way, you have to run against Andrew Cuomo, who is the worst fucking candidate I've ever seen in my life. At least in this iteration.
We worked together at HUD. We were.
Oh, that's right.
We were colleagues. Fought.
Yeah.
Fought.
Yep. Just a little bit of Schadenfreude, I have to imagine, in this moment for you.
No. I all in for Zoran.
Yeah, all in for Zoran. So I want to make sure we talk about Pritzker today. So I want to get your assessment of how the governor is responding. But obviously this morning, Trump called for him to be arrested along with Gavin Newsom for not, I don't even know for what fucking reason, but we're not supposed to call these people fascists because that incites violence, but then they say shit like this, and that's okay. But what's your assessment of Pritzker?
First Amendment.
Right.
He said to get rid of free speech today. Crazy. He's
absolutely. Wait. Trump said we should get rid of free speech today?
No, he said he already did. He said
that he already did.
If you burn a flag, we're going after you. It doesn't matter what the court says. Well, we got rid of it.
You know what? This is what is amazing to me. They control the House, they control the Senate, they can't legislate or do anything. If they want to pass a law to ban flag burning, they could try. It'll get thrown out, but even this court would throw that out, to be honest with you. But they're not even trying.
They got to come back in session. And to come back in session means they got to swear in the
Adelita Grahala.
Yeah. Well, they won't even swear in.
God, you're like exactly where I am. And like, if you and I had like a whiteboard of things we want to connect together, they'd be exactly the same.
Yeah, look, we're looking at these monsters. They're doing such terrible things to the country, and they're so cynical about it, and they think we're dumb enough to fall for it. And you know what? They've managed to fool 25-30% of the country, and not because they're stupid, but because the propaganda machine is so unbelievable. That's why it's so important to do things like this, because the corporate media has failed in this moment, and we have to break out and do other things, and that's why this work that you do is so unbelievably important, Mike.
And you too. And the other thing is, like, we have to go talk to them, because like you make an important point that I think people miss. Like, Trump's approval rating's probably 38%, maybe as high as 42%. All right. So there's still a lot of people that are giving him the benefit of the doubt. The actual MAGA movement is probably at most 25% of the country. Now, some of them are the loudest assholes on the planet, but most of them are just good people who don't trust the system, who have been left behind for years. And we haven't talked to them in forever. The Democratic Party has been trying to win elections by subtraction instead of by addition. And so we don't go to places, we don't go into uncomfortable spaces and talk to them. I'm telling you, on any given week, I'm the only Democrat they hear from because I go on News Nation to talk to them, and that's the only person who does it. And so Democrats got to stop doing that. I'll also tell you the other thing is, like, we don't have very many Democrats that are out there just talking to the press and doing influencer shows at all. I have not had an elected member of the Democratic Party on my show since the shutdown, and I've got 1.3 million subscribers. Now, that's not me, like, bitching about my stuff. I don't see anybody on Substack on any of these shows. It's like Hakeem is doing a lot and Chuck is doing a lot, which is good, but you've got to distribute that out and get people everywhere. And I just don't understand why we can't do that.
Well, the party's not there yet, but what they have done, I want to give them credit for, is they've changed their strategy from, look, we only have so many resources, so we're going to run in the races we think we can win, to, look, we got to run everywhere. We have to go in rural America and ask people for their votes. And like in North Carolina, where I've been paying a lot of attention, the Anderson Clay, fabulous party.
I love Anderson. She's amazing.
Has recruited candidates to run in districts that are probably not going to win this time, but they're finally going to every house saying, we want your vote. Here's what we're doing. No, don't believe that. When this hospital closes down the street, there's somebody here to tell you why it closed, and it isn't the Democrats' fault.
Yeah.
And over time, that's going to make a big difference. And so
Yeah.
I'm proud of the organized Democratic Party for crossing that bridge too late.
Are you familiar with Amanda Littman and her work at Run for Something? Yeah. So her concept of reverse coattails, I think, is super important, and probably one of the things that's convinced me in the last 10 years of playing everywhere is like, if Republicans run somebody in every election. There's not an uncontested election in the country that doesn't have a Republican candidate. Very rarely is there. And Democrats leave thousands of things unopened: dog catcher, state senate, school board, whatever. So they take local control. They develop a deeper, stronger bench, but they also like work that up. So like the more people that are trying to win elections down ballot, you can have coattails down where like Tim Ryan ran for Senate against J.D. Vance. He lost, but because of him and the coordinated campaign he put together, we flipped 2 House districts in Ohio. What was that? Was that 2018? Maybe it was either 2018 or 2020. We flipped those 2 districts. And then if you have more people running down ballot, you're going to get more people that come up who are unlikely voters because they love the local candidate that's running.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in reverse coattails. Always have been. Since the first time I ran in a very contested mayoral election in Chicago and my alderman race, there were more votes cast in that race than in the mayoral race, in that ward, than in the mayoral race.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah,
that's extremely Chicago though. Like Chicago, with Chicagoans caring more about who their alderman is than the mayor is like classic shit.
Yeah.
But I want to get into Pritzker a little bit. Like, how do you feel Pritzker's handling this? Because he is the face of the resistance movement in Illinois, for better or for worse. Like, how do you feel about his
JB's doing? I think he's doing a fine job. He's doing. He is prudent, cautious, but he knows what side he's on. He's not taking any guff, and so I give him nothing but credit. But here's what I would like to see, and this has nothing to do with I think the fine job he's doing. But why is there still a Trump sign on that building on the Chicago River? Like, I mean, why doesn't the city council say, look, if you send an army into the city, you violated some kind of law and you can't have a sign? Take it down.
Has the city council been trying to get that turned down forever? Like, why?
Let's do it and make them sue us. You know what we've learned?
Yeah.
Instead of them breaking every law and we sue them and 5 years later they say something, we need a win. Yeah. Like I send every building inspector in the city to look at his restaurant and his hotel. You know what? We need a win. I mean, it's
nothing. The problem with that hotel is he doesn't own it, so somebody else owns it. Right? He just has the licensing rights to the building, right?
So, yeah, but it's his brand.
That's true.
His brand, right?
Sure.
So look, you know what? These are little wins, but I mean, Chicago, for those of you who aren't in Chicago, we have a budget problem. We have a huge budget problem because we funded pensions for a very long time. But if I were the mayor and I said, you know what, Thursday, we're going to tear the sign off that building and I'm selling seats along the Chicago River, like, that's it. We could get rid of our entire pension problem right there.
I mean, you would fill the entire Riverwalk with people excited to do that. You'd have to close off the bridges because there'd be people bringing lawn chairs just to watch it. I'd be there. I'd get up at the crack of, I'd kayak down there and be on a kayak all day with just like a case of beer and my phone so people could see my live reaction to it.
Instead, what do we have on the river? We had ice agents patrolling the river a week. In their full regalia, as if the Chicago River were the Rio Grande. Like, hello, guys, let's look at a map. Who's crossing the Chicago River to break into America? Are you kidding me?
What did they think they can't even catch a guy on a bicycle at a DoorDash last week. Like, they're not going to catch somebody in the water.
No, I mean, only immigrants you're going to find on that water are Russian oligarchs with big yachts.
Honestly, if a Russian oligarch on a big yacht got to Chicago somehow, I'd be incredibly confused by that as well.
Well, you probably buy the yacht here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so one of the things we've been talking about on my show for the last couple of days has been I wrote this piece on Friday. I don't know if you read it, but I got super pissed off about what was happening in Lincoln Square and all the schools. And I got in my car and I like indiscriminately tried to drive to the nearest school and it was already over. I'd missed it. But then on the way back, I ranted about how I'm frustrated that I'm not using my body and that I'm not doing more to get physically present. Like I've been talking about these shows. They're important, don't get me wrong, but I'm sort of hiding behind them in a certain degree, right? It's easy for me I'm literally in my basement right now bitching about fascism, and there's a difference between that and actual presence outside, right? And so I'm been trying this week to figure out the best way for me to be useful, and I want to give people an update on that. And then when I want to hear like your thoughts on how to be useful in this moment, both for people who are in Chicago, but for people who aren't, because this is happening elsewhere too. It's just not getting as much coverage. So for me, like, I met with my congressman today. I met with my alderman today. We talked through a bunch of stuff. We talked about, especially with the alderman, like scheduling like a Know Your Rights event at the school that I'm on the council of. So doing that so that parents and the kids, we got 41% Hispanic population, know what their rights are. We talked about a bunch of other things. I don't want to talk about everything that we're doing because there's some things I just don't want to say out loud tactically that I think are important. But we were talking about how to make the kids feel safe, how to make sure the parents know that, they are sending their kids somewhere that is safe, because we're thinking a lot about the psychological impact of people dropping off their kids and worried they're never going to see them again. Now, ICE not supposed to be able to come into CPS properties, and the principals and the CPS saying they won't cooperate, which is good. But every day it feels like they're pushing the line back a little bit. So you need more and more protections for people to feel safe. So we're working through that. And that feels like, for me, where I can be uniquely useful in this moment. And then I'm going to try to go to the Broadview facility on Friday. I don't know that I'm going to make it because there's like school pickup or school drop off for my son. I got to coordinate that. But those are the things that I'm thinking about right now. I also joined a million Signal groups, and I want to add this to get your thoughts too, which is like the amount of like false alarms is staggering right now. And I don't know if there's a steady place to get quality information, but I joined like 4 Signal groups over the weekend. And the number of times somebody's been like, there's ICE in my neighborhood. And then it's like a cop. And it's like, well, hold on, like you guys need to like sort of chill out a little bit. And so there's a lot of irrationality to it that I'm worried about. So I want to get your take on that because you're in the thick of it.
Yeah. Well, look, showing up helps, but look, if you know people who are worried because they're here and they're worried and their family is, doesn't have all their paperwork or whatever it is, call them. Just give people support. Be, I mean, being human in a time, of cruelty and inhumanity is worth more than you can imagine. It just gives people courage. It gives them hope, and not false hope, but real hope that this madness we're seeing isn't the natural outcome of our
Yeah.
character. That matters. Absolutely. Share. There's a lot of Know Your Rights websites and data. We have to make sure everybody does know their rights. Um, there are groups like ICER that are stretched thin. The Illinois Commission on Illinois Refugee Rights. Help them if you can. There are lots of. I mean, also uh, go to Little Village and buy something. Go to
Yeah.
neighborhoods where ICE has impacted the finances of the whole neighborhood by keeping people away from work and help them out. All of that is very helpful. I mean, there was a story today that up not and not far from you, where ICE threw that gas canister down a street. You
Yep.
know, they caught up. Wow, what did they get? They got a mom and a dad and their 2-year-old coming home from preschool, and they got caught in the tear gas. That's all they did. They just threw it out a window down a street. But the neighborhood nearby has seen a marked drop in shopping. It's
Yeah.
hurting everybody there. So support the communities that are under attack. Show up in the communities under attack.
Well,
Show up knowing your rights in the communities that are under attack.
yeah, that's such a good point because, like, I was talking to my congressman today, Mike Quigley, who I think the world of, and I think is a very good congressman, and he was talking about how all of these small businesses, these restaurants, are getting killed right now. And because people aren't going. So if you're someone in a position of privilege, like honestly, like I'm taking my wife out tonight, I'm gonna go find somewhere where I maybe wouldn't ordinarily go, and I'm gonna try to take her out for dinner tonight and see if I can figure it out. Plus, I love good Mexican food anyway, so there's probably like plenty of good places to eat. But I'm going to try to do that tonight. But it's also impacting like kids. It's like we talked about the psychological impact of dropping your kids off. And like, look, I send my son goes to a public school, but he's a little white boy, right? So I'm not worried that he's going to get taken. But like, I'm still always scared when I drop him off at school for a million different reasons. I'm worried that something happens in the playground. I'm worried that he doesn't keep his hands to himself. I'm worried that somebody's mean to him. And like now add on top of that, you're worried that like federal agents are going to like scale the side of a building and tear gas your kid and take him out of there and you'll never see him again. That's fucked up. And then, I was talking to the principal of a school in CPS, and they were talking about how attendance is way down for Hispanic kids.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of kids that aren't showing up. There are a lot of kids that are transferring out and going somewhere else, or maybe not going to school at all. They might be being homeschooled right now. I heard another story about a kid who was at his soccer match, and he was friends with a friend of mine's son, and he said, like he's great. He was like, "Where's your grandfather? I haven't seen your grandfather in a while." And he's like, "Grandpa can't come. My grandpa can't come to my
Yeah.
game."
Has CPS created a homeschool curriculum for people who are afraid to go right now?
I don't know.
That's
One
what
One of the things that we were talking about today is that CPS really hasn't given guidance to schools on what to do right now. There's a lot of like informal tips and stuff, but there's not like a document. Like I was talking to the principal of the school today, and I was shocked that it's like there's no blueprint for what a CPS school should be doing. So there's a lot of like intermittent chats and trust and conversations about what to do. But there's like 4,000 different schools in Chicago. They're all doing 4,000 different things.
Yeah, that's unconscionable. We need to do better. That's not okay.
And look, maybe there is something and we're just not aware of it. Like we're going to reach out to CPS Day. So if I'm saying something wrong and somebody knows, like if you are watching this and you work for CPS or you know something, like drop it in the comments or send me a message on Substack.
I mean,
but like
schools have to know what their protocols are. They have to know what everybody's rights are. But also the system should be creating homeschooling curriculum for this moment. It's not, we went through that in COVID. It's not great. But if you really aren't going to send your kids for some reason, you got to help them. And CPS should do that. It isn't. This is an emergency. It's an all hands on deck moment. So they got to put their hands on deck and do it.
Yeah, I want to take a pause there for a second and just say thank you to the 1,700 people who are here. Please make sure you subscribe to Edwin's Substack. Go follow him on others. What social media sites are you most active on? This one, but where else are you?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Okay.
Blue Sky a lot. And my Substack is called "It's the Democracy Stupid."
That's good. I like that a lot. And then for folks who might be stumbling on me, I'm Mike Nellis. I'm a Democratic strategist. This is my Substack, Endless Urgency. It's free for everybody. I will continue to make my content free for as long as I can. But if you're willing to become a paid subscriber, it helps support our work. It's just $8 a month. It really does make a huge difference. I'm taking $0 out of this business. I'm investing everything back into making it bigger. So we bought a studio space that we're going to be furnishing. Our community manager is on her second day. She already wrote her first piece of content for me that I have to edit after this. And I'm really excited about it. She listened to me rant earlier today about ICE, and then she wrote something up for me. So I'm super excited about that. But that's all happening because of the people who have given $8 a month. So if you're willing to kind of help support that, we can sort of scale up this work. I want
to just say again,
yes, sir.
Really important work. Americans are not getting what we need. I mean, CBS just put somebody
Barry Weiss.
But Barry Weiss has never been in the news business. She's been in, like you and me, in the opinion business. Okay. Right. But CBS
it'd be like if they put me in charge of like fucking NBC.
It's different. Well, I mean, news is a different thing. And we use news. We read news. We're big consumers of news. But reporting is a specific set of skills. She's got no experience in that. Now she's in charge of a major news organization there are people who confuse opinion with news. On the right, it's basically everybody. We know.
I mean, I would argue on the left, it's getting more and more basically everybody too, unfortunately. The number of people who are like, Mike, you're my favorite journalist. And anyone who emails me and goes, you're my favorite journalist, I will absolutely respond to them and go, I am not a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm not here to report the news. I am a Democratic strategist. I am a political activist. I am a hack. Like, I care about this and I'm going to be honest with you guys, but I'm not reporting the news.
Right. But we are getting news out to people.
Right.
And it's very important these days.
And making sure that people understand how to react to that news. Like, I think we help shape people's understanding of what's happening right now. Part of the reason, like, the next thing I want to talk to you about, I want you to finish your thought, but is like, I want to talk to you about fascism. I want to get like one layer deep on that, but finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I'm done with that. But I mean, it's really obviously because fascism is about, can we get everybody to think the way we think?
Right.
Can we make everybody think the way we think about it? One point of view only. Those people are bad. We're good, and the guy in charge is going to protect us all. And it's been creeping around all over the world. The autocracies have been rising for 10 years or so. I mean, after the Soviet Union fell, a lot of people experimented with democracy, and Vladimir Putin and others figured out how to use democracy to cement their own power.
Yes.
And taught that lesson to others, to Orban in Hungary. And it's, and God knows that folks here in the GOP studied that model and are going step by step by step through what you have to do to end the democracy. And the Insurrection Act is an end of a democracy. It's the militarization of America when there's no insurrection. I am not alone in firmly believing that all of this nonsense of sending the troops here, Mike, it's not about immigration. I mean, Joe Biden's last year in office, he deported 274,000 people, more than 250,000 people. And Trump hasn't hit that number yet. This isn't about immigration. and they're not here to make the city safer. They're not doing it about crime. They're here to intimidate and to get us used to them being here because they want to be here at the next election.
Yes. Yeah.
They want to be with their army around the polling places saying, we have to protect the integrity of elections. We can't let illegals vote. And then they're going to try and stop people from voting. And you know what? If the vote doesn't go the way they want, they're going to say, we're going to impound the voting machines and we'll count them ourselves. And then we are generations in the wilderness until we can restore a democracy. But
Right.
that's their plan. Don't be fooled. That's their plan. And they are talking about it.
Yep. And I think they're being very brazen about it. And now the good thing about it is, and I'll add a couple of thoughts to this, is like, one, I think that speech that Hegseth and Trump gave last week to the generals was a more than thinly veiled attempt to get them in line. And if anything, they embarrassed the shit out of themselves, which was, again, they lacked the sort of like tact, I think, to be able to build that kind of alliance that they need. Go ahead.
And I agree with you. The audience in that room was appalled by what they heard.
It was complete jackassery.
Completely. But there's a reason they didn't close the doors and speak just to the people in that room. They broadcast this live everywhere because they want the new recruits all over the country who haven't been trained this way to start pushing pressure up on the brass. This is an end run around everybody in that room who knows better.
I hadn't heard that perspective before. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
actually.
and really frightening. Really frightening.
Yeah. Well, but it's also like the way they approached it was stupid. But the other point that I want to make here too is like, I agree with you. What they're doing in Portland, what they did in LA, what they're doing here is that they're trying to get people used to the militarization of American cities. They're getting used to Donald Trump doing it. But go look at the polls. And they track the polls closely. Like, don't let them fool you. They give a shit what the polls say. They are tracking it as closely as any other politician. Donald Trump is obsessed with polls. And by the way, when Donald Trump is posting that he has a 67% approval rating, what he is likely showing is a 67% approval rating with Republicans. So like, which is not good. I mean, I think people kind of miss that part of it, but this is pretty unpopular. And people don't want the military in cities. They don't agree that Chicago and Portland are lawless. They're not breaking through. Same as the shutdown, right? Like they built their entire shutdown messaging around the Democrats are trying to fund healthcare for illegal immigrants. Only like 20% of Republicans even believe that's the reason for the shutdown. So like even their own people are like, no, and that's why I think you see Mike Johnson, you see Trump kind of blink the other day on the shutdown. They're looking for an exit ramp here. Although if they do, they're going to have to let Adelita Grijalva take her office, which means we're getting the Epstein discharge petition, baby, and I'm ready for that one.
Yep. Look, I mean, in what universe could they blame the Democrats for a shutdown? The Republicans hate government. The Democrats generally like government. No one is just. I mean, all of their rhetoric for years is in their way. No one's going to believe the Democrats for this. And in fact, Democrats would have been furious if their leadership went along with the supposedly clean CR. By the way, that wasn't the reason why it isn't a clean CR is it didn't clean up the dirt that was in the previous CR. And among the dirt in the previous CR was the changing the law that says a day isn't a day for the purpose of counting Donald Trump's emergency authorities. So he can say I am invoking an emergency and keep it going forever. Right? This CR didn't deal with that. Not clean. Their hands.
Well, the other thing here too, because I've done a ton of right-wing media, and so I run into the immediate talking points that they have. They're flailing. Like I've argued with basically everybody on the right in the last week and a half on this. They have nothing, and but they keep going. All we're doing is we're just re-upping the Biden budget. Why can't we re-up the Biden budget? And I'm like, you guys every time I say this, they have no reaction to this. They're like, you guys realize like 2.5 months ago you passed your own budget, right? This is the Republican budget. This is the Trump budget, and so when we're talking about this, like Democrats are fighting, and they've zeroed in on these healthcare subsidies. But there's two other things they're fighting for in the shutdown fight too, which is getting one hand back on the wheel for tariffs for Congress, because Trump is doing illegal tariffs to raise your taxes to make everything more expensive. And then second, to undo the ridiculous cuts that are in the Republican budget right now, which means school lunches, but it also means $2 billion for community policing that they cut. There's going to be fewer cops on the streets because of what they're doing right now. They weren't worried about public safety then. They're not worried about public safety now. And then they're like, oh, well, if you just pass a clean CR, we'll negotiate with you on that stuff now in good faith, because they have so much good faith that they've earned. And I want to add one more point before I hand it back to you, which is part of the reason they're trapped on the shutdown and they can't get out of this. They're responsible for the shutdown is obviously when you're the party in power, you get blamed for this stuff. That's number one. But how belligerently, like, asshole-ish, I don't even know how to describe it, have they been over the last 10 months going, we want an historic landslide. Donald Trump is the greatest president of all time. I alone can fix it. We have absolute plenary authority to do whatever we want. And now, oh no, the little Democrats are shutting down the whole government. Like, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. You can argue one or the other, but you can't do both.
Yeah. And you know, look, they have no moral high ground. No. The facts don't support them.
In all fairness, they haven't had a moral high ground in my entire career, but later, it hasn't stopped them from winning.
What are they going to do? They can't, like, I'm looking at the members of Congress, they can't blame the government shutdown on, oh my God, there's a trans bathroom in the Capitol. The issues that they use to gin up panic and support, it doesn't fit this problem. You know, they got nothing. They got and the cuts that they want to defend. You know, we're going to have I'm not a budget hawk, but they have ripped an enormous hole in the deficit, and so they said, "Oh, we're cutting." And you think generally people think when they think about cuts, they think about it because, like, okay, we have a deficit,
right?
But they didn't deal with the deficit. They said we're actually cutting so that we can give rich people tax breaks, and that, you know, I think Americans don't like that. You don't like it.
No, and it's the same thing that Republicans always do. And the point that I made on a radio show I did this morning was, let's talk about what we've got money for and what we don't got money for a second, because the government shut down, so we can't pay federal workers that are going to work. We can't cut Social Security checks. Members of the military aren't getting paid. But in this shutdown, did that stop them from sending $20 billion to Argentina to prop up a Donald Trump's ally, who then sold out American farmers by selling all their soybeans to China? Like, come the fuck on. Every time Republicans are in power, the only thing they know how to do is put money in their own pockets and cut taxes for billionaires. They don't do anything to help regular people. And by the way, they always, in my lifetime, they always crash the economy. Every Republican president of my lifetime has crashed the economy. And Donald Trump's in fucking la-la land going, the economy's the hottest that it's ever been. The job market's incredible. There is no inflation. I've defeated inflation. And, like, he's living on a planet. It's to your point on fascism. He's a single source of truth for 30% of this country. And he's also a single source of morality, by the way, because that's part of the, like, whole Tom Homan corruption stuff is Tom Homan takes a $50,000 bribe. Trump goes, it's not a big deal because at least he's getting rid of the illegals, you know? And it's like, what the fuck?
And by the way, government is shut down, except that also you left this off your list, the nice workmen who are building his ballroom where the White House. Is gold.
That is critical to the federal government that Donald Trump gets a fucking ballroom, which will be gaudy and awful, just like the whatever it's called, the Rose Garden, whatever they're calling it now. I don't know. Can I say, never let it be said, by the way, that I don't say one nice thing about Donald Trump's design choices. The grates that they have outside on that patio shaped like the American flag, those are cool as shit. I actually like those. Everything else about it, I hate. Sorry, what'd you say, Edwin?
The flag poles aren't terrible either.
The flagpole's fine. I don't mind a good flagpole. I just got a flagpole for the new office. I'm gonna have a nice flagpole with an American flag behind me. Like, I'm not. You know what? One thing I hate about liberals, I think you'll probably agree with me on this. Republicans, like, steal things from us. They get so patriotic, so we're, like, afraid to wear something with an American flag on it. They're so religious, we're afraid to talk about our faith. They're so pro-family values, we can't talk about our kids. Like, fuck that stuff. I'm not doing any of that anymore.
You'll like this. When Biden won. You know, there were days when nobody was sure, right? It took a while to get all the votes counted.
Yeah.
And then on one day, he was called the winner by all the press.
Yep.
And I took an American flag, a big one, and I started to march around the neighborhood with people. And at first, some people looked at me like, are you supporting, do you support Trump? Like,
yeah, right.
No, I support America, and we won. And then there's cheering. And then the people with me. And then, so take back these symbols. Right? Take them back. They how dare they claim they're the party of family values? How dare they? They are separating parents from their children on our streets, Mike.
Yeah.
Right now.
And I appreciate all the people in the comments right now that are going, our flag. Our flag. It's not your flag. It's our flag. And that shit pisses me off. And I'm not going to let them take it. I am going to tell you, though, my story of watching Joe Biden win the presidential election, because it was the following Saturday after the election. I'm on the back patio with my wife. We have a projector in the back in our old house to watch football games outside. We're projecting it on the back of the deck. And we're watching. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. So Notre Dame beats Clemson, beats the shit out of Clemson. And they cut into the game to announce that Joe Biden has been elected the 45th president of the United States or whatever. And I remember being like, yes, it's so great. Please get back to the fucking football game. No, I don't want to think about Joe Biden. They come back to the game. Then I switch over. I go watch Joe Biden's speech before I go to bed. And then all of a sudden, my dog in the middle of Joe Biden's speech starts freaking out and chases towards something. And a skunk attacks my dog in the middle of Joe Biden's speech. And I'm in the back listening to Joe Biden and watching Kamala Harris ascend to the presidency while I'm like scrubbing my dog in the back going, oh, this is the life of a Democratic judge. And I worked for Biden. Like that's how I celebrated Biden finally winning.
By cleaning off the stench of a skunk when he won. That is a good metaphor.
I've never thought about it like that before. I kind of like that now. It's a better way to tell the story. So, we're on fascism. Like you've already mentioned it here, like where we go from here. Like it's going to be, it feels to me like it'll be hard to like hold these people accountable in the law relative to the way the law works right now. It doesn't mean it won't work a different way in the future. But you've talked about like taking Mar-a-Lago and turning it into the American History Museum of Fascism. Like what else would you want? Like when Democrats win again, when the left wins again, like what do you see?
Look, we came within 2 votes, right, Manchin and Sinema, of passing the electoral reforms that we need to go back after Citizens United, right, that put gobs of unlimited dirty money into our politics. John Roberts is in his 20th year, and his reign has been disaster for American democracy. He has, at every opportunity, favored corporate money in our politics over people. He's favored corporate speech over regular speech, and he is certainly no fan of the Voting Rights Act. He's made it his career to get rid of it. So we need to pass all of those structural reforms that make it harder. That once again say that the voices of ordinary Americans are what matter here. And we need to do that. We absolutely need to do it. We should have blown up the filibuster to do it before. We just should have. It's that important. It's more important than anything.
I think, can I give you, because part of the perspective that I have on this is the thing that scares me the most is that we elect a technocrat as a Democratic nominee, 4 years from now, and whoever that person is, and they try to go rebuild everything. And yeah, maybe they add a few seats to the Supreme Court, because we're going to have to rebalance the Supreme Court to get anything passed, because all that new power they've given Trump is going to suddenly disappear the minute that there's a Democrat in the White House. So we do that, we get rid of the filibuster, and then if we just dip our toe into the water of the reforms that need to be passed, I think 4 years later we get something far worse than Trump that comes back to us. If we don't immediately deliver in people's lives, but really make it incredibly difficult for someone like Trump to get elected again, and really to even out the playing field so that the American people get a full and fair voice in this election, which includes a new Voting Rights Act, that includes making Puerto Rico a state. By the way, how many fucking Republicans in the last week and a half have shown their asses that they don't know that Puerto Rico's a state because they keep saying we need a real American, not Bad Bunny, to be the Super Bowl halftime show speaker, which is ridiculous. Like, we got to go leagues and leagues deep about it. And what I worry about is Democrats are maybe got A, B, and C lined up, but they don't have anywhere close to Z in terms of the end game of what needs to happen. It scares the hell out of me. Statehood for DC. Thank you, Diana. That's another one.
I'm started with those structural reforms, but we have to go deeper into Americans' lives. And it was 1938, and FDR was commenting on fascism in Europe. But pre-Pearl Harbor. And he said, I venture the challenging assertion that if the American government doesn't work tirelessly, day and night, by peaceful means to improve the lives of ordinary Americans, fascism will grow in our land. So, yes, we need those structural reforms. But one of the reasons we're here is the gap between rich and poor was allowed to get too big. Democrats and Republicans focused on the money and not the lives of ordinary Americans. We turned our back on an enormous drug problem for years when fentanyl was before fentanyl, when these drugs were ravaging America. After 2008, we didn't send one banker to jail, even though so many Americans lost their houses.
Yes.
The government of the United States, Democrat and Republican, did not put the well-being of ordinary Americans first and foremost and fight like a dog every minute to make that better. And that is the cure for fascism. But you have to also have these structural reforms that make it harder for these assholes to come take power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just I listened to Pete Buttigieg at an event not that long ago talking about this. He was like, a system that is functioning for the vast majority of Americans never produces a candidate like Donald Trump the first time, let alone the second time. And I think we should have accepted Trump's victory in 2016 as a warning sign for what was possible in America. And we did something that I think rarely works out in politics. Like we looked backwards to Joe Biden. We did a nostalgia presidency, right? We looked backwards and we miss Obama. So we're going to do Joe. People were pissed about the pandemic. Fine. There were a lot of mistakes. By the way, we're doing it all with hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. I will say one thing, though, to the people out there who think the DNC rig presidential primaries, because I said this to Sank on the Young Turks like 2 days ago. If you think the DNC rigged the 2020 primary so that Joe Biden would be the nominee, no. Basically, the entire Democratic Party worked for everybody else, and then the people selected Joe, and then we lined up behind him, and it's one of the wildest things I've ever seen. So, like,
Yeah.
now 2024, that was a little bit squirrely, though, not more than a little bit squirrely the way the DNC put that together. But it's just we've got to nominate a candidate in 28 that ones that can win, because winning matters, but understands how to govern, understands how to use power, and represents turning the page. Because no matter what happens, Donald Trump is not sticking around for a third term. I don't believe that it's going to happen unless we totally fall to fascism, and then every solution is not going to require the use of words, is how I would put that. But it's going to be a new Republican Party. It's going to be a new Democratic Party. And as horrible as everything is right now, it represents an opportunity to turn the page in a significant way if we nominate the right candidate, if we use power the right way. And that's the whole reason Endless Urgency exists. It's the whole reason it exists, is to have this conversation.
It's great. And I'm actually not worried about that. I think we will find a great candidate. Americans are, these last few months have stirred Americans to think about some issues that they don't think about very often. We're having conversations about Madison. We're having conversations about, well, how do we balance power in America? What's the appropriate role of this? Like, Americans don't want to think about that. They want to go like, what's the next movie? Where's the car? Wait, how bad are the Bears really? This is in
Go
our.
Cubs go, though, by the way. Hey, if anybody wants to post the Cubs score, I would appreciate that, because I don't know what the score is right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm not hopeful, but
somebody drop that in for me. I would really like to know. I have tickets tomorrow if they win.
Mike, I just think we are having the conversation that we need in order to get the candidates we want out of the primary process. And I think we will. I have a lot of confidence that during the primary seasons, we're going to pick good candidates, candidates who understand the moment. We learned a big lesson with Joe. Joe did a lot of great things as president. The one thing he didn't do was put a nail in a golden spike or silver spike in the Art of the Vampire, so that he's gone for good. That he should have done. He didn't do it. And we now need to do that.
Well, it's another example of, like, I think making the mistake of, you mentioned it earlier, but you and I talked about this when we had lunch a couple of weeks ago, is like not holding Wall Street accountable to the 2008 financial crisis sent a message to tens of millions of Americans that this system will never work for them, that your house can be taken away from you, that you could be completely taken advantage of, that rich, powerful people can destroy the economy, and they're going to be just fucking fine. Because to them, it's toy money. Because the government's just going to bail them out. And by the way, we're in a situation right now with a massive, massive AI bubble in this economy. 40% of all GDP growth in the last year is from just AI. That is way bigger than the internet bubble, and it's going to burst, and they're going to bail the shit out of those companies. They're going to absolutely use our taxpayer dollars to bail out whatever happens with OpenAI. And by the way, I don't hate Sam Altman, but like, they're going to bail them out, and the American people are not going to get a bailout. Like, right now, they can't even process a bailout for farmers who are getting killed by Trump's tariffs. And by the way, one more thing. Sorry, I'm on a rant here. They don't even want the bailout. They just want to be able to sell their product. They just want to be able to live their lives and sell. Thank you to everybody telling me that the Cubs are up 4-1, by the way. I appreciate the shit out of this community. Let's go. Hopefully they don't fuck it up, because the Blue Jays had a perfect opportunity to kick the Yankees out of the playoffs last night, and they fucked up like a 5-1 lead. So,
well, Cubs.
I love baseball, Edwin. I don't know if we've talked about this.
Look, I appreciate that you are ranting about this. I mean, look,
that's what I'm good for, I think.
No, this is we haven't ranted enough.
Yeah.
And I mean that like when we get into power, we tend to think, okay, we'll just take care of business. We'll pretend everything's fine. Let's just make peace, calm the temperatures down. But every time we do that, the other guys regroup. And while we're like
Yep.
focusing on like let's make the economy work, they're focusing on how they can fuck up the next election.
Right.
Right. So
Yep.
so okay, you lesson learned. I know what you're up to. No, we don't. You don't. This is
We
not
have to
about winning
turn.
and getting peace. This is about winning and building a stable democracy. And
That's
if they
right.
want to come on and be part of that, God bless them. If they want like to smile at us and go, "Oh yeah, well, we're fine," and continue to undermine the democracy, nope, not going to let them. Not
Yep.
going to.
We have to turn the temperature up after we win. And the instinct of the whole party, because everyone's going to be tired and we're all going to be miserable, is to turn it down. But like I've ranted about this before. Like I want the next Democratic president to be as aggressive as they were in the campaign all 4 years. And I know that's a hard thing to ask of their staffs, a hard thing to ask of them to do. But that's what's got to happen because as frequently as we're thinking about Trump and as frequently as we're thinking about the horrible things that he's doing, imagine if the American people were bombarded with good news. They were bombarded with a government that was making their lives better, that was holding corporations accountable, that was improving their lives. I want a Democratic Party where nobody in this country, even our haters, can question what the Democratic Party has accomplished lately. Because the thing with Biden is there's a lot of accomplishments in there, but to the average American, they're like, what the hell did they do? They don't know what they did. They can't name Biden's signature accomplishment. They can't name the impact that he had in their lives. Most people can name the impact that Donald Trump has had in their lives. It's just been aggressively negative.
Terrible.
So we've got to do the reverse of that.
There's a lesson from, of all places, Israel. You know, because their country got to be where ours was a while ago when the person who led the movement for peace, Yitzhak Rabin, was murdered by a right wing activist in Israel, and the country was split apart. And and the right wing, who was responsible for this murder, said, "Oh, we have to make peace. We have to take down the temperature. We have to calm things down." And the left in Israel said, "Okay, we'll do that." And they did. And the right wing then focused on kicking the shit out of them, taking the government away, which they have done ever since, and have ruled that country. And that's why today you can have more than 1 million Israelis out protesting what's going on in Gaza every day and have their government not paying attention to them.
Right.
And we're in danger of the same thing if we think our overall arching goal is to make peace with people who are lying to our faces and trying to undermine our democracy.
Right. And I think the key difference in that, and then it's probably a good time to wrap it up because I'm about to become dad for a little while. Plus, I want to go watch the Cubs if they're winning. So it is, we have to divorce the difference between people who voted for Trump and people who vote for Republicans and Republican elected officials, because there is a fight here to wrestle power back from these people and make sure that we're in a position to help people. And then what we need to do is go reach out to these people and go, you have been taken advantage of and you have been ignored, and we are here to fight for you too. Like, I think a lot about all of, not just like soybean farmers are getting a ton of attention right now from Democrats, which is for a good reason. I'm all for it. But like, all the people that are going to be screwed when these rural hospitals are closing all across the country because of Trump's budget, we need to be reaching out to those people. Like, where's my Democratic presidential candidate that goes on a tour of every rural hospital that closes and brings a nice Sony camera to shoot content to get that out there? That person will get my vote in the primary if there's somebody out there that'll do it.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Is it? I'm like months now. I'm waiting for it.
Well, they're not running a presidential campaign yet. But
Many of them are running presidential campaigns, Edwin.
It'll happen. I promise.
I hope so.
They'll all
I hope it does, because the other
back to libraries.
Back to what? Back to libraries?
Yes.
Yes, hell yes.
Books. Hear the books they took. I'm bringing them back.
Yeah, that's, by the way, that's like the best thing about Chicago, by the way, is that you could throw a rock and hit a library. You hit a library or a park or anywhere in Chicago. I love this town for that reason.
Mike, listen, thank you for having me on. I hope we can do it again. It's a lot of fun.
You will.
Your work is really important to get this word out to everybody.
Thank you. Edwin, tell everybody where to find you one more time.
You can find me, Edwin Eisendrath, on Blue Sky or It's the Democracy Stupid. Please sign up. It's free. And there's a lot of content.
Please do that. I think Edwin is an incredibly smart guy. We met just a few weeks ago. He's a friend of my buddy Joe Walsh's. So like everybody knows how much I love Joe. So Edwin is now in that love category there for that. And then if you're stumbling on me, again, I'm Democratic strategist Mike Nellis. This is my Substack Endless Urgency. It's free for everybody, but if you're willing to become a paid subscriber, it's $8 a month. I am taking $0 out of this business. I'm investing everything right back into it. We're hiring staff. We're going to pay them a living wage. We're getting our studio set up so I get out of this gamer basement that I'm like trapped in right now. The way I set this up a year ago, I kind of regret now. But I really appreciate everybody's support. And Edwin, this has been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Well, I'll talk soon. Be safe out there, everybody.